I'm Bob Lessman, your worship associate for this morning. Before we go further, we should note that there are two important beginnings this morning. In Christian churches around the world, this Sunday marks the beginning of Advent, a time of when Christians have set aside to prepare for the celebration of Jesus' birth. This evening also marks the beginning of the Jewish observance of Hanukkah. Hanukkah commemorates one of the times that the Second Temple was retaken during the Maccabean revolt around 160 BC. During the rededication of the Second Temple, the Jews only had enough purification oil to last one day, yet the temple menorah miraculously stayed lit for 8 days. During each night of this holiday, the Jewish people light one additional candle of their Hanukkah menorah as a reminder of this miracle. I have two opening words, both very short. The first is attributed to Carl Sagan. He probably didn't say it, but it sounds a great deal like Carl Sagan. Here are those words. Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known. The second is from Marie Curie. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. On behalf of the entire congregation, I welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Shenandoah Valley. We gather together with our doubts as well as our convictions, with our fears and our hopes, with our failures and our aspirations, with our sorrows and our joys. Whether you're joining us today for the first time, or you've been a member or friend for many years, we are glad that you are here. Whatever faiths you've known, if any, whatever your background, whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived here, you are welcome. Our speaker today is Bill Mcshay, whom maybe all of you know, certainly most of you. Bill is a biologist, an ecologist. He calls himself a wildlife ecologist. He works for the Smithsonian's Conservation Biology Institute. He conducts several forest-related projects in Virginia and a grassland ecology project in Montana. When not in the United States, which seems frequently, Bill currently works in Southeast Asia, Borneo, and China, where he's best known for his work on giant panda conservation over the past 22 years. Bill's research focuses on the management diversity of wildlife populations. He has published numerous scientific papers of his work, in addition to editing or writing 6 books on ecology and conservation. The title of Bill's message today is Science as a Way of Understanding the World, Advice for Young People. Now, as Bill comes forward, let us together say the words for lighting the chalice. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, to share. And I invite you to join with me as we say our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help our neighbor. To these ends, we covenant one with another.
Our reading today is an excerpt from an essay by Rachel Carson called A Sense of Wonder. I sincerely believe that for the child and for the parent guiding him It is not half so important to know as to feel. If facts are the seeds that later produce knowledge and wisdom, then the emotions and the impressions of the senses are the fertile soil in which those seeds must grow. The years of early childhood are the time to prepare the soil. Once the emotions have been aroused, a sense of the beautiful, the excitement of the new and the unknown, a feeling of sympathy, pity, admiration, or love, then we wish for knowledge about the object of our emotional response. Once found, it is a lasting meaning. It is more important to pave the way for the child to want to know than to put him on a diet of facts he is not ready to assimilate. Okay. So, the search for truth is our sacrament. That's one of the central tenets of this religious community. I take that tenet very personally. It's a primary reason for me being a member of this congregation, that and our community of interesting people. We're all trying to understand the universe and our place in it, and science is a way of gaining knowledge. It's based on observations, looking for patterns within those observations, and testing our ideas of the underlying rules that govern those patterns. I acknowledge that it's not the only way people gain knowledge. Some use sacred texts to gain knowledge about what to do and how to interact with the world. Some use meditation. They place their minds in a place to gain new insights and knowledge. Some use cultural stories of what happened to community members in the past or how past members interacted with nature or others. Those stories are passed along orally or written form. A good example of these multiple sources of knowledge has come from the development of the theory of natural selection, one of the most important principles in ecology. Charles Darwin, who is a hero to a lot of us, spent most of his adult life painstakingly accumulating observations, conducting experiments to tease out the principles of natural selection. Until one day he received a letter from a young naturalist in Papua New Guinea named Alfred Wallace, who explained exactly the same theory that came to him one night in a malarial fever dream. Darwin was shocked by the letter, but they published the idea and the concept together, and it still stands today. It doesn't matter how you arrive at the truth. It matters that you recognize it once it's been uncovered. Science is one way of approaching the universe and our place in it. It's often taught in school as a litany of facts and numbers, but for the practicing scientist, it's very different. It can be described as standing on the edge of knowing and looking into the unknown. I spend my life trying to predict the future and deducing the rules underlying life based on my observations and the observations of others. Science differs from other forms of knowledge acquisition. One, it's public. You have to share what you did, how you did it, what you found. Others will test this observation and build on it. Two, your observations are always open to questioning and critical examination. You expect it, you welcome it, because questioning leads us closer to the truth. I was educated in the Catholic Church by an order of brothers similar to the Jesuits. They believed that God and Christ was the truth, and the closer you came to the truth, the closer you came to God. And you found the truth through critical thinking. We examined all the aspects of the Catholic dogma without fear that we would go astray. The virgin birth, the Trinity. We spent a whole week on the Inquisition. I am not sure how many practicing Catholics they produced, but they did produce disciples of the truth. Three, science is based on the belief that there is a truth to everything. Some of that truth is personal, like how you feel about something or your favorite food, but most truth is universal. How? Why is the grass green and the sky blue? How many grains of sand are on the beach? You may not know the number, but it exists and it is knowable. You don't need to know the grains of sand on the beach to enjoy walking on it, or how the bird sings in order to enjoy its song, but increased knowledge increases the enjoyment and the wonder for people like me. There is a vast complexity to the universe, but it is knowable. Not in my lifetime, but I am part of the process. One result of this belief is that we cannot abide by alternate facts when we're talking about history in the natural world. That just doesn't resonate for someone like me. 4, the scientific method, observation, pattern seeking, hypothesis testing, to people like me is the surest way to the truth. The world is not chaos. There is a pattern and a logic to the world around us, and we have the means to understand it. These beliefs that there's a singular truth and we have the means to find it is a powerful way to look at life. I can use my own talents and abilities. I don't need a sacred text or a shaman to show me the way. In college, I'll give you an example. In college, I really struggled with quantum physics and advanced chemistry. But if you told me, Bill Mcshay, go stand on the moon, I have no idea how to do that, but I know the way to do that. I know how to build layer upon layer of knowledge until I'm standing on the moon. This confidence that I know the way to gain knowledge permeates my life. I would say the only difference between me and Jeff Bezos is that he has a lot of money. That's it. Now I brought a prop. It's dangerous to bring props, but I brought one. Think of the universe as a deck of cards. It appears chaotic at first glance, and the deck is too much for anyone to look at all the cards at the same time. But I can deduce this deck. I can deduce it by doing an experiment. I do an experiment and I come up with 3 cards, and they're all numbers. I repeat that experiment. 3 cards again, they're all numbers. I publish a finding. The world is composed of numbers, none of them higher than 10, but that's what the universe is about. Somebody repeats that experiment, he says, you're right. There's nothing but numbers in the universe, and none of them are higher than 10. Then somebody, who I may hate or love, says, what are you talking about? There's people in the world, and they all look like women. So there are numbers and women in the world. On and on this goes until we know the deck. None of us saw the whole deck. None of us did it all by ourselves. But together, we can now predict that deck. So that when I get a hand that has 4 aces in it, I can predict nobody else has an ace. But none of us have seen the whole deck. That is science in a nutshell. That is the way we gain knowledge about something that appears too big and too chaotic, but is knowable and understandable. Scientists have an ego, and we have to intentionally keep our ego strong. The truth needs a champion. I must be willing to fight for my version of the truth. If you say your version of the universe is closer than mine, prove it. Competing hypotheses are the basic process of science. Any attempt to find the truth starts with many hypotheses, and one by one we cast them aside as the ideas do not fit the observations. More observations result in eliminating less plausible hypotheses until only a few are standing, and those can be usually subjected to experimentation. When I'm writing a science paper, it's because I either agree or disagree with someone else. This is the critical thinking process. And look at an example, look at climate science. 40 years ago, the idea that harmless carbon dioxide and methane would increase the temperature of the earth and change our daily life was speculative at best. Many scientists lined up with competing hypotheses. No, that can't be true. There must be this. This is what it does. This is how it works. But one by one, those hypotheses have fallen by the wayside. They don't fit the observations. So that today, we can build credible models that can predict the near future. And we can, the scientific community can get behind where we're going, what our knowledge is, and how it brings us to predict where we should go. This back and forth of new knowledge, of accumulated and patterns discovered, is a given in science, but it's not always understood. Look at the angst over the COVID virus. As recommendations changed with evolving knowledge, some saw this as evidence of incompetence or conspiracy theories. No, this is the way science works. At a personal level, the process mostly leads to hurt feelings for those whose ideas are challenged or in a social setting. Take the understanding of God in this church. If I polled all the members here about your understanding of God, we would have as many concepts as we have members. Science would say that there's a singular truth and that most or all of us are wrong. But how do you challenge a deeply held belief without causing pain? The best I can come up with is to remember the parable of the blind men and the elephant. We're all standing at one place along the animal and explaining what we feel. A wall, a snake, a tree. We are all right about what we feel, but we're all wrong about that beast that stands before us because of our limited vision. We need to combine our observations, or better yet, shift places and observe the elephant from a different place. I belong to this church because we're willing to take other viewpoints and to shift our positions, even when we're not comfortable doing that. It's humbling to know that we're probably wrong in our view of the universe. The flip side of a strong ego is the ability to alter your view when confronted with new knowledge. For me, the strong ego part is easier than shifting my views, but I'm working on it. I included in this sermon the title, Advice for Youth. That pertains to a well-known scientist being asked, what advice would you give a young scientist? And his advice was so compelling, I wrote it on a little post-it note, and I keep it in my office throughout my career. He had 4 pieces of advice. 1, avoid boring people. By boring, he meant people who know what they know, people who are not open to alternative hypotheses or the arrival of new knowledge. You are who you associate with. If you want to grow as a scientist or a person, you need to surround yourself with people that are also searching for the truth. 2, do something exciting. The world is full of ideas that need solving, knowledge that needs gaining. Find something that excites you. It's a long life, and you have to spend it chasing what is important to you. Also, you need to explain your quest to others. If you're not excited about your life's work, you will never convince anyone else to support you or to go along with you. 3, take risks. Say yes to things that are outside your comfort zone if they advance your mission. Move to a new city or country. Change your study subject. Start something long-term when long-term money is not there. Leave a relationship that is not giving you support. All safe things have already been done. If you're standing on the edge of knowledge, you need to step off the edge when the time is right. Be bold in your quest for the truth. 4, build a network of mentors. If you take risks, you have to accept failure. Not all ideas work. Most hypotheses are false. But you need people who will support you in order for you to continue the process? Who can pull you back from the edge when you step wrong? This cannot be done alone. Intentionally building a network of colleagues and mentors who can provide you with the necessary critical thinking and the space to pick yourself up and start over again. I would add a fifth element. You need to keep and nurture your sense of wonder at the world. Wonder at the complexity of the world and human life is what will keep you striving. The quotes earlier in this service highlighted that wonder drives the process of science, and the greatest gift you can give your children or your budding scientists is a sense of wonder. Complexity is not bad. Lack of understanding is not a fault. It is the stuff that builds lifelong learning. This advice has served me well in my career, but I think it holds for all of us. This church of non-boring people is the network we need to move through life. We expose our feelings and beliefs to each other with the idea that we're all searching for the truth, and we're all willing to shift our positions if it helps us achieve our shared goals. We strive to maintain the wonder of life despite its setbacks and obstacles. The search for truth is our sacrament, and with that guiding principle, we can move confidently into the future. We can all go to the moon together. Amen.
As Bill Mcshay comes forward to extinguish the flame, let us say together the words for extinguishing the chalice, which are printed in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of our community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. Closing words this morning are actually from our burgundy-colored book called Lifting Our Voices. It's by Barbara Merritt. Unitarian Universalists have said for centuries that there is room in our religion for all seekers. Skeptics and poets and scientists are welcome here, as are nonconformists and shy and uncertain folk. We believe that restlessness and doubts are a sign of grace, that the love of truth is the holiest of gifts. Now may the blessings of truth be upon us, the power of love direct us and sustain us, and may the peace of this community preserve our going out and our coming in from this time forth until we meet again.